Welcome back again to this new normal approach to learning. Our topic today is all about Newton's laws of motion or the three laws of motion by Isaac Newton. The content doesn't came from me, so I already provided the link where I found this very informative PowerPoint presentation. Schoolworks.henry.k12. So this is a very iconic story from historian wherein Mr. Isaac Newton is resting under an apple tree. So this is the reason why he discovered the laws of universal gravitation, or gravity to be exact. Simple background, he is an English scientist and famous for the discovery of the laws of motion. Nowadays, it is known as the Newton's laws of motion, and describe the motion of all objects on the scale we experience in our everyday lives. So these are the three concepts particular to the laws of motion. So first one, inertia. An object in motion tends to stay in motion, and an object at rest tends to stay at rest unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. Force is equals to mass times acceleration, or the net force of an object is equal to the product of its mass and acceleration. That is for acceleration, second law. Third law is for interaction. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So again, that is for the first law of motion. So what does this mean? An object will keep doing what it was doing unless acted on by an unbalanced force. If the object was sitting still, it will remain stationary. If it was moving at a constant velocity, it will keep moving. So if there is no unbalanced force acted on an object, the object will not move or will not change its speed. If it only takes force to change the motion of an object. Focus on this GIF presentation. The motorbike is actually moving, but there is something that make it stop, and that is an unbalanced force. This one, the block right here, the tiles right here, serve as an external force or an unbalanced force that makes this motorbike stop. An unbalanced force can actually make an object slows down, move faster, stop, change its speed, or change its direction. But on this presentation, the unbalanced force make the motorbike stop. What is meant by an unbalanced force? Unbalanced force is any force in our environment that make, or external force, any force in our environment that makes something move. Like for example, there is a paper on your table. It will move because of the unbalanced force. Let's say like the external force is a heavy wind outside your window, so it will move like that. Some examples from real life. A soccer ball is sitting at rest. It takes an unbalanced force of a kick to change its motion. If you put a soccer ball on the middle of the field, it will not move unless if there is a soccer player that will kick this ball. If the soccer player kick that ball, by kicking the ball, the external force is kicking the ball, so the ball will actually change its movement, change its direction. Very simple. Tug of war. Team A on the left, Team B on the right. Both team exerted the same force, so no one wins. Pero what if mas malakas si Team A, so mahihila niya si Team B, so yung external force dyan si Team A. Very simple. Law of inertia. Inertia is the tendency of an object to resist change in its state of motion. Focus on the red part. The more mass an object has, the more inertia it has, and the harder it is to change its motion. So the bigger an object, the more tendency for it to resist change in its motion. So we have another example. Focus on the last sentence. Once they are moving, it takes a large force to stop them. So yung concept kanina, the bigger an object, the more inertia it has, or the more tendency it has to resist an external force. If yung train umandar na, if may iharang ka sa harapan ng railway, matutulak lang yan na easily ng train kasi mas mabigat ang train kumpara sa nakaharang sa kanya. So the bigger an object, the more tendency it has to resist external forces. Kagaya naman ito, a bug flies into your windshield. Since the bug is so small, it has very little inertia and exerts a very small force on your car. If sa mga merong may kotse dyan, if yung kotse doon ninyo nakamaga ng isang insect, the car will still moving on its same speed kasi hindi siya nagalaw ng external force na sobrang liit lang, which is the insect. So the bigger an object, the more tendency it has to resist external forces. Ayan. A book sliding across a table slows down and stop because of the force of friction. So no matter how big or small an object, there will always come a time that it will stop. Kagaya nito, friction. Then if you throw a ball upwards, it will eventually slow down and fall because of the force of gravity. So what if mabigat yung object? Kagaya ng train at saka ng car, it will still stop because what if malapit na sa destination? So it will stop para walang mabangga. For example lang, so no matter how big an object or how fast an object, there will always come a time that there is an external force that will make it stop. Simple as that. So your activity for this first law of motion is to record yourself doing something under the concept of inertia, or simply record yourself exhibiting one example under law of inertia na hindi nasali sa lecture natin sa law of inertia. Ganun lang kasimple. Newton's second law, acceleration. Force is equals to mass times acceleration. Acceleration, a measurement of how quickly an object is changing its speed. I will just be telling you an overview about this one kasi on our next lecture, ang focus topic is about force. So I will be explaining further force on that lecture. Ito, overview lang muna. We have unbalanced force, then net forces always cause acceleration. So balance versus unbalance, ayan, tingnan ninyo, this is actually a balanced force. Net force niya 0. Left girl, right girl exerted the same force, so yung object hindi gumagalaw. Balanced forces cause no acceleration. Ito naman, it will cause an acceleration because there is unbalanced force. It means left boy na naka-red, mas malakas yung force niya, tingnan niyo, kumpara sa left guy na naka-blue. So mas malakas yung force, so yung force going to right. Matutulak niyo yung box papuntang right. Ito naman, both of them is pushing the box going to right, so dalawang net force papuntang right. So unbalanced forces causes acceleration. More about net force on our next lecture. What does F is equals to ma say? So this is a mathematical equation. Force is equals to mass times acceleration. I will show you how to solve problems with this formula soon. So example, same force daw. Same force pero mas mabigat ang object, small acceleration lang. If same force lang, tinulak mo yung mabigat na object, small acceleration lang. What if same force, tinulak mo yung small object, mabilis yung acceleration. But if sa large mass, tinulak mo isang table, mahina acceleration. Pero small mass, tinulak mo isang unan, mabilis yung acceleration. Simple concept. Suppose that the acceleration of an object is 0. Does this mean that there are no forces acting on it? The answer is no. It means the forces acting on it are balanced and the net force is 0. Think about gravity and normal force acting on stationary objects. So, meron pa ding force na ka-applied, balance lang. So, focus on the italicized word mechanical equilibrium. So, these are stable. It means the forces acted on the object are equal. So, under equilibrium rule. So, that is the law of acceleration. Same activity sa law of inertia. Record yourself exhibiting one example under the second law, acceleration. Just a simple example under acceleration. Newton's third law, law of interaction. For every action, there is always an equal and opposite reaction. Mas maganda example sa next. Ito na lang. If you are pushing a skateboard, if you push a skateboard forward, the skateboard will goes backward. Ito na lang. Ibabasahin yan, if your toe hit a stone, the force exerted by your toe will be the same as the force exerted by the stone. So, yun na siya. Ito, good example as well. If you push the wall, the wall also pushes you with the same force. Or, di naman kaya yung swimming pool. If sa mga nakaligo sa swimming pool, if yung nasa gilid kayo ng isang pool, pag tulak ng paa niyo sa pool, you move forward, then yung force going backward sa wall ng swimming pool. So, there is always an action force and a reaction force under the Newton's third law of motion. Again, action force, reaction force. Example, ito. Ang action force dyan is this person jumping on this platform. It means pagtalon ng person na to, he is going forward or he or she is going forward, then yung boat going backward. So action force pagtalon niya papuntang harapan, yung reaction force yung boat papuntang palikod o backward. So equal forces, opposite reaction. Every action equal an opposite reaction. For example, the moving car. Action, the tire pushes the road. Then reaction, the road pushes the tire. So paabante yung kotse because the road pushes the car. So ayan, ito naman, very common example. Tingnan niyo yung arrow. Rocket pushes gas going sa left, then the reaction, gas pushes the rocket left, then going to right. Dito naman, tingnan niyo yung GIF presentation. Focus sa red sentences. As the gases move downward, yan, pababa yung gas, the rocket moves in the opposite direction, upward. So yung gas pa downward, yung rocket pa upward. It means equal action, opposite reaction. Or equal forces, opposite reaction. Downward yung gas, upward yung rocket. Di naman kaya ito, red sentences. As the bird push down on the air with their wings, the air pushes their wings up and gives them lift. So nakalipad yung bird because yung force of reaction, pababa yung wings, then yung hangin pataas. So nakalipad si bird. Review, inertia on objects in motion tend to stay in motion, and object at rest tend to stay at rest unless acted upon by an unbalanced force or external forces. Second law, acceleration, force equals mass times acceleration. Then Newton's third law of motion, interaction. For every action, there is equal and opposite reaction. Same activity sa inertia at acceleration. For law of interaction, record yourself doing something under law of interaction. Or to be exact, kada law, first law, second law, third law, inertia, acceleration, interaction, record yourself doing one example of each na hindi nasali sa PowerPoint presentation natin ngayon. Ganun lang. Thank you for listening. If you have concerns for the clarification, so just send that one in our messenger group chat.